Now you are.
We're live on Double Funnel TV. Here we are on Training Friday, Thursday.
I was like, wait, huh?
What?
What?
You gotta be listening.
Gotta pay attention. That's what they say, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And you have an exciting Thursday, Friday training for us.
I do. I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good.
3 deadly fears for the presenter after we covered the 8 deadly fears for the presenter's audience last Friday's training.
Last Friday's training. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the one thing that people don't, they go, what do you mean I could have fears as a presenter? You know,
those seem the most obvious to me.
Yeah, I know. I think when you go back to it and you really start to think about it, you know, I don't know that people recognize that sales gets stopped because of fear. And it's typically one of the 8 that we presented last week for the customer. They get caught into could be comparison, could be a variety of different things. But then there's the 3 for the presenter themselves. So we'll go through those today, and understanding that fear, whether it be for them or for you, is just another conditioned response. Just like sales is a conditioned response. When somebody makes an objection, if you were to take that objection and handle it, it's a conditioned response. When somebody says, hey, this funnel doesn't do this, you as a digital marketer says, oh no, it does because of, that's a conditioned response. It's what you get accustomed to. And so what we want to do is really recognize those fears and go through it that way, and really understand that once we recognize them and we can resolve them, it's a whole lot better and a whole lot easier on all of us. So fear is just an emotion, and quite frankly, it's been built into each and every one of us for our good, for the most part. And it's a specific reaction to a threat or a perceived threat. And in our bodies, it triggers one of 3 things. Now, most people, I think if you ask this question, you know, when fear comes up, what are the emotions that pop up, or what are the actions or lack of actions that pop up? They basically say,
lack of actions.
Yeah, fight or flight, right? You're accustomed to, all of a sudden something comes up against you and you go, well, I'm going to fight that situation. I'm going to fight that person. I'm going to fight that aggressor. I'm going to do whatever. Or flight being the second one, I'm going to run away from that aggressor. And again, our body, that type of fear or those type of reactions are pre-programmed into us. But there's actually a third one, and this is the one that many people don't talk about and many people don't think about, but it's actually the most problematic one, in my opinion, and that is freeze. So fight.
Yeah, we were discussing that last time.
Yeah, I mean, if you freeze, you're now stuck. And if you're stuck, you're not taking any action. And if you're not taking any action, you're not getting any feedback. And the only way to get feedback is to take an action.
It's like it goes in a vicious circle.
Yeah, it really does. And as an example, where this came up for me recently is a friend of mine was doing he's a former FBI agent and hostage rescue team guy and all these kinds of things. And he came up with a scenario that in an active shooter situation, one of the best things you can do is move. And the reason is that only 4% of those moving ever get hit. that there's a 96% miss rate when you're moving.
That's interesting. And since most active shooters are not actually trained, that makes sense that they would prefer the fish in the barrel.
Exactly. So, a big part of his talk was the biggest hazard you have in that kind of situation is to hide or freeze. It's actually it lessens your potential good outcome. So again, I think it's the exact same when we're selling. If we freeze, it's like, now what do we do? And normal fear keeps us safe. Again, it's the
normal fear.
The touching a hot stove or doing whatever. It's like, oh, don't be doing that again. Well, it's the fear of you burned yourself once, you don't want to do it again, that keeps you from doing it again, right? But it's irrational fear that really stunts your growth or stunts your life or whatever. And if you really do any study of fear, there's 530 different fears listed, meaning phobias.
So many.
Yeah, I mean, and again, many of them are irrational, and so you just have to bust through them. Fear of flying. I mean, it's, as a speaker, I've traveled a lot, and it's to watch how people get paralyzed by being on an airplane, and yet far more people are injured, hurt, killed in automobile accidents than they are in airplanes, right? So it's you don't want to be hurt in either. I get it. That's the idea. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt said it in his first inaugural in 1933, and actually the concept was first written by Napoleon Hill back in Think and Grow Rich. But Roosevelt's quote was, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed effort to convert retreat into advance." And I think that there's a really, to this day, there's a great lesson there. The terror paralyzes you from keeping needed efforts from taking place, to convert retreat to advance. Right? So when something comes up against you, and it's the same, this is where, what they call this? Testing in a funnel. Because you need to convert retreat, A, didn't work, go to B, into advance. Right? So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's outbound presentation or digital presentation or whatever. What we have to do is continue to take action and work to find the most efficient way to do what we're going to do. And so the fear actually becomes the number one enemy of any presentation, because people drop into, and many times they don't outwardly tell you what it is from their side, but it's the exact same thing with salespeople. If all of a sudden a prospect gets loud with them or whatever, and they shrink down and they like, right? So it hurts from the presentation side just as well. And the way to really then overcome those fears is through solid product knowledge. Be a product of your product. Know your stuff inside.
You've got to know your stuff. If you know your stuff inside and out, so much fear goes right out the door.
Well, and because the other side of fear is confidence. And so if you start to, if you become more familiar with the workings, and this is where, again, just as a little sidelight to this, everybody expects you to know your stuff. They don't expect you to know your competitor's stuff, and they don't expect you to know the industry stuff.
I do.
Well, I agree that you should, but I'm saying I expect you to know your stuff.
That's true.
I I expect you to know the softwares you're using, the philosophies behind using it, how to construct a funnel. I expect you to do that. But if you then know ClickFunnels methodology inside and out, now you are a student of the industry. You are somebody who has greater expertise that I can draw on, in our working relationship. So the more solid your product knowledge is about your own stuff, the more your fears will go down. The more professional your presentation skills, the more your fears will go down, and the greater the confidence that will come up on the part of your prospect or your client. Because if they can truly feel that that you've got your head dialed on and I mean, you got this stuff down, it's going to go a whole lot farther. So as we actually get into these three fears, fear number one is the fear of rejection. And the fear of rejection is really a state of being overdependent. You're looking for approval or recognition or affirmation, not within yourself, but from somebody else. And it's like you need that approval or that recognition or that attaboy, that attagirl from somebody else to feel good about yourself. Well, that's a self-determined requirement. In other words, if the only way I feel good is if somebody says something nice about me, I've made that determination to set those rules that way, not anybody else. So fear of rejection, in just that statement, you start to hear where fear of rejection is first established or is established, and that's within you. You're the one who's in control of it. You're the one who can be the master of it from that side. It becomes a self-censoring attitude.
Self-censoring attitude.
So again, you become the one who then determines, and I'll give you one. And we talked a little bit about this with my new book coming out. I was sitting in a situation where somebody asked me, about the book, and I said, the thing I'm having the hardest time with is the cover, is the title, because I don't have the title. It's not flowing the way, it's not coming out and flowing the way I would like it to. And he said, well, after all these, negative events you've gone through and coming through them, even smelling like smoke every once in a while, right? How have you felt? And I went, you really want to know? He goes, yeah. I said, that sucks. What now? And he goes, I love it. That's your title. Well, the point is that I was the one inhibiting my creativity. I was the one holding back my productivity or my imagination, because that was a self-censoring. Well, what if people don't like that title? What if people say, well, that title's too in your face? But it actually turned out just the opposite. Everybody I've told the title to is like, that's genius. I love that title, right?
It sums up that moment in your life really well.
That's exactly it. So again, that's where it's that self-censoring thing. Fear of rejection is the driving force behind people being truly authentic and not being truly authentic.
It's true.
They'll lose their identity to please people. As Sean so accurately describes, the addiction to approval. Right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We don't want to get into this addiction to approval, which causes us to lose our own identity. And that's kind of what fear of rejection does to us. It's not what anybody says to us that counts.
It's what we say to ourselves.
It's what we say to ourselves after they stop talking.
It's like I've heard Sean speak.
Well, no, that was my line.
Oh, is that one yours?
Yes, that one's
I've heard y'all both speak all the time.
I know, but the point is that the No, it comes down to, it's not what anybody says to you that counts. It's what you say to you afterwards. If somebody says, "Oh, that title is so crazy and it's offensive and it's this and it's that," it's like, no, it's really not. It just describes the situation aptly, like you said. Okay, I'm fine. Or I could say, "Oh, wow, I'm offending people by that title. Oh, I got to pull the title." But right, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's where we go in that conversation. And fear of rejection is an irrational fear that people will not accept you for who you are or what you believe or how you act. And so think about how many of the issues that we face in today's society are wrapped around this irrational fear. I won't be accepted. I won't be, I don't like what you believe. I mean, people defriending each other because of political beliefs. Well, I can't believe you would believe in that person. Well, I can't believe you would believe in that person. Well, I just don't want to believe in you anymore. And it's like, seriously? You've been friends forever. I mean, we all have different opinions on all sorts of different stuff, right? So it's how we take that makes the difference. And fear of rejection becomes a persuasive motivator for caution. Our caution in our behavior and interactions with others. If we have this fear of rejection all the time, we tend to not put ourselves out to step across what we perceive to be the line, whatever that is. We tend not to have interactions. Well, Jena's like the most amazing digital marketer on the planet. I couldn't walk up and talk to her. I mean, that'd be crazy. I mean, she would laugh at me at my marketing and how bad it is. And, it's like all of a sudden we pull back, because of that. But most importantly, it's a state of mind. Fear of rejection is a state of mind. Nobody can make you feel anything. The only one that can make you feel something is you. And that's a concept that most people, quite frankly, many, many, many people have a problem with that concept. But nobody can make you feel anything. They can encourage you to develop your feelings towards something.
When does that change? Like, I would not, like, I could tell, let's say, my 7-year-old that statement, right? It's not going to have any effect on how he feels when other people say something. So that definitely, I feel like, is a learned concept.
It is a learned concept, but learning, the reality is nobody can make you feel something. So you learn to allow things to make you feel something. One of my friends said about a year ago, now a little over a year, and I thought it was just like the most brilliant statement ever.
You just have brilliant friends.
I do have brilliant friends. Learn to become unoffendable. I mean, think about that. We're living in this time where everybody's wearing their feelings on their sleeves and everything. Political correctness is killing our country because there's nothing correct about political correctness.
Nothing correct about political correctness.
There's nothing. There isn't. It's we are entitled. I mean, the Constitution assures us of freedom of speech. Now, we should use some common sense when we use it. That's true. That's true. But the point is, we were assured our right to share our opinions. Now, should we always? I don't believe we always should, but we have the right to. And the point is that when, as opposed to looking at the actual issues, it's easier to attack the verbiage and just learn to be unoffendable. Oh, that was offensive. Well, it was only if it's, and it's, I do not swear often. I mean, I do, but I very rarely do I,
I do.
right? But you and I have had these conversations. There's certain speakers that's almost all they do is swear. And, people go, well, I just don't even think I'm going to go to that presentation because he drops the F-bomb every other word. And he does drop the F-bomb every
He
other
does
word.
drop the F-bomb every word.
Now, that all being said, the person who has decided that the F-bomb is offensive is you. So
It didn't bother the speaker.
that's my point. Become unoffendable.
I think if you told Gary Vee that there was a problem with his F-bombs, he'd tell you to go F-bomb it.
I've seen him do that. I've seen him do that to an audience of over 5,000. Say, if you don't like me dropping the F-bomb, F you.
That's a New Yorker for you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to do it, so you might as well get ready for it. Now, I think there are better and other ways of communicating the message, but I'm just saying the other side of that is there isn't a single word. There's not a single word on the planet that can cause you to do anything without you making a determination that that word is offendable. So, I mean, if the point to this, I guess, without getting too caught in the weeds, is if somebody says you're ugly, okay.
There was another speaker who even took it a step further. He would, because he was showing how to defeat a bully, not just not be upset by them. And he was like, I think the example was making fun of his sweater. And he just looked straight at the bully. He's like, yeah, I know in my family we don't have a lot of extra money, but I really like your sweater. It's beautiful.
Again, diffuse a situation, right?
How are you going to argue as the bully against that? You've just complimented.
That is the point. Is if you choose, if we choose to be divided, we'll be divided. If we choose to be together, we'll be together. Pretty simple. There's a pretty good training manual that says, love me and love your neighbors like me. That's it. That's all we're supposed to do. Nothing more than that. Nothing less than that.
Did you call it a training manual?
Yeah. It's a very old and renowned training manual.
I heard it's the best-selling book of all time.
It is the best-selling book of all time. And so the point is that while it would be preferable not to have people say stupid things, people will say stupid things.
All
right?
the time.
So again, this becomes a state of mind. It's if you've got this fear of rejection, you're afraid to say anything. You're afraid to have an opinion. You're afraid that you won't be accepted, that there'll be disapproval, that, all the things. Les Giblin did the work on the approval, appreciation, and acknowledgement back in the, I think it was 50s or 60s.
I would say I don't recognize that one at all.
No, I mean, it's great work. Many people don't know about it, but it basically, I mean, this stuff has not changed for a long time. I mean, it is what it is. How we respond to it is different, but
how we word it is different.
How we word it is different. But the biggest thing that fear of rejection is, it's energy robbing. It immobilizes you. It's defeating. It's self-destructive.
So energy robbing.
Yeah. Just wears you out.
And then I will say, like, I've gotten pretty good at this, except from some people. I feel like there's some people, like, no matter how much I try, I'm like, all right, you got me.
Well, but there's a difference between energy suckers or energy vampires and you doing it to yourself, and fear of rejection is a self-owned, self-contained fear. I mean, it's within us.
Yeah.
Nobody, basically it's the act of giving others power other than yourself. I give my power to you. So we become, we feel like our energy is being sucked, but we've given you the ability to do that. We've given you the ability to wear us out. Because without addicting your power to somebody else, giving you control over my life, you don't have any control over my life, but that's a choice on my side, from that side. And so it's only recognized within. Again, if I said, Jenna, you have green hair, you could go, what are you thinking of? What, did my hair come out bad today? What? Or you could say, well, no, I don't have green hair. What's he? Oh, he's just kidding with me because he knows I can take it. Those are both potential answers, right? One is, oh my God, the sky is falling. The other one is, he thinks I'm really awesome and I can take that criticism. But it's only realized within. And it's somewhat summed up by Eleanor Roosevelt's quote that said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
All those Roosevelts had a lot of things to say.
Yeah, they did. Well, the whole fear, I think
they were kind of important, time of history, well documented. They were dealing with a little bit of stress.
A little bit. So I think that could be where it came from. Her response after the we have nothing to fear but fear itself came out. Because it's true. We're the ones in control of fear of rejection, and so this is again where confidence is key. The opposite side is
confidence,
being confident, right? And it's knowing your capabilities. Send out that energy that you're competent, right? That you're qualified. That it's not about arrogance. Arrogance is a unbridled over exuberance, I think. And the confidence is just kind of a knowledge and a certainty of your abilities and your capabilities. It's funny that, so in the speaking world, there are
as opposed to the real world.
Well, I'm just
trying to be funny and relevant.
Well, me too. But there are definitely speakers that are arrogant. Oh. They believe themselves to be the guru of gurus, and many that have that level of belief in themselves really aren't that good, right? And really don't do that. Or there's a quiet confidence that you say, throw me up on stage in 2 minutes notice and everything will be fine. That's a confidence.
I've told people that. It's not, sometimes that's what the person putting on the show needs. Somebody has skipped out. Somebody got lost in traffic. Someone had a family emergency. And here's this stage full of lots of people. And by the way, you don't get any PowerPoint. You're lucky to get sound.
Get up there and wing it. Yeah, you're lucky if you can speak.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I got it. If you need somebody, I got you covered. It's not arrogance. I just know I could speak about anything.
Yep. Well, and I'm pretty much the same way. So that's what I mean. I got asked yesterday, what do you speak on? My answer is, what do you need me to speak on? Because that's, it's not about me. It's about you. You need that. So how do you get out of fear of rejection? Well, there's multiple steps. First, list the people whose rejection you fear. It could be a parent, could be a coworker, could be a friend, could be a compatriot.
That sounds like a cry day. That's a day you need some chocolate brownies.
No. Well, there's never a day you don't need chocolate brownies. So
truer words of that's a quote right there.
That's a quote right there.
Roosevelt.
And then the second step is list the behavior patterns reflecting those fears. In other words, I'm concerned about what Jena will say because when I have this behavior, she, whatever that is, causes. And then look for alternative behavior patterns. In other words, maybe it's, well, the pattern is every time I joke with her, she gets upset. Well, what's the best way to do it? Don't joke with her, right? I mean, find an alternative behavior pattern. List the benefits to really understand the benefits of behaving differently. Then stop and then adopt those alternative behavior patterns, and so implement it.
That sounds to me like there's one of the books that I like was 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and as a very young, fresh out of college Jena, was one of it was take responsibility for everything. And I think he reworded it better. And I was like, why in the world would you do that? Like, not everything is my fault. They're like, you don't like the president? It's your fault.
It is your fault.
The world is spinning. It's your fault.
It is.
You didn't sell anything.
It's not fault. But see,
your responsibility. So the moment you say, though, it is your responsibility that it's fault, because most people are like, oh, it's his fault. So they were taking it to the extreme.
And responsibility are not the same word.
If it's your responsibility, then you have the power to change it.
That's right. That's why I was being fault and responsibility are not the same word. Don't confuse those. Languaging is important.
Languaging.
Jack Canfield in the Success Principles, the number one success principle is take 100% responsibility.
Yes.
If you're in a car accident, if you're in a car accident and somebody hits you, it's your responsibility. Well, wait a second, they hit me. Were you in your car?
You're taking the word fault, because fault is a legal terminology.
Well, the other side of it is there's blame assigned, which fault equals blame. Responsibility is responsibility. I was there. I was breathing. I consumed some of your air. I was in your space. I chose to do this. I chose not to do this. I take responsibility. Responsibility gives you the power. The word responsibility is the ability to respond. That's all it is.
I agree.
And so, again,
and if you have the ability,
take it, use it.
And you can respond, and you should,
and
you have the responsibility.
Fear number 2 for you is fear of failure. We
just spent 40 minutes on the other one.
Well, I know.
It was important, though, and it's the biggest one.
Well, it is the biggest one because it's so self-contained, and it's the one that people don't think. Fear of failure is the fear of making mistakes and losing approval. Again, it ties to the fear of rejection, because it also becomes self-limiting. This also ties to the addiction of approval that Sean teaches so well. And so what happens is then things tend not to happen. So as an example, if I don't attempt, I cannot fail. If I don't attempt this phone call, I cannot be rejected by you. If I don't attempt to close this sale, you cannot you can't tell me you're not going to buy. So fear of failure is one of those that, again, it stifles your ability. It's really wasting your potential to serve humanity. If you can't, if you're not willing to make the attempt, what's the worst that anybody can say to you? No. Okay, well, it wasn't happening before. It's still not happening. It didn't get worse. And this comes in on the selling side with SW, 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 SWN. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting next.
am I supposed to follow those acronyms?
It's just 4 SWs and an N.
It's just.
Where'd this? You disappeared. Where'd you go?
I disappeared. I'm still here. You're not here.
What happened?
Can you hear me still?
I can hear you still. Can you see me still?
Yep, I can see you. And Facebook is still good, so keep going.
That's so weird. All of a sudden, you leaned forward and my screen went away. That was like funny.
Yep, I'm still on Facebook, so you can keep on going.
Okay. So God's gift to us is our talents and capabilities. Our gift in return is using them to their fullest. And what we tend not, again, if we're fear of failure, we tend not to initiate. But the real place that fear of failure comes in is, or how to kind of bust through it, is to understand who sets the rules. Are you working off of your rules or some rules that a parent put on you or a boss put on you or a company put on you? So don't compare, because when you compare, you're never the same as. You are always better than or worse than, but you are never the same. And the bottom line is your heart won't let you fail. I mean, if you are passionate about what you're doing, if you're on purpose about what you're doing, your heart will keep moving you forward.
If it's big enough, if it's worth enough.
Right. If it's worth enough and big enough and all that. You know, Edison, when producing the light bulb, had over, quote unquote, 10,000 failures. And so when he was asked about that, infamously, he said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. It was just a 10,000 step process.
Language.
It's languaging again. I mean, it's only failure if you denote it as failure.
Or you give up.
Or you give up.
When you give up, you failed.
It's a stepping stone. Everything is a stepping stone towards. And while we would like to believe that we understand each stepping stone and each bobble along the way and all that, I'm going to suggest you never will. And it's why I'm adamant about, you cannot say that God's plan and timing is perfect and also believe this negative event shouldn't have happened. You can believe the negative event shouldn't have happened, or you can believe God's plan and timing is perfect, but you can't believe them both. So you've got to choose a camp to believe, and I believe the plan and timing are perfect. Doesn't mean I understand the plan and timing all the time. Doesn't mean I'm overjoyed by the plan and timing all the time. But if you recognize that the plan and timing are perfect, then the things that you might view as not quite so perfect it are all learning steps or all education towards. It's why I came up with the 5 questions that I teach my students and clients to ask in any situation. What's the lesson? What's the gift? What did I do to create it? How would I modify it next time to make it better? How is this going to serve me the rest of my life? Now I can take any situation and turn it into a learning event. What's the lesson? Well, I shouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. What's the gift? I'm still here even though I did. What did I do to create it? I might have not checked them out as diligently as I should have. How are you going to modify it next time? I'll learn to check out working relationships better. How's this going to serve you the rest of your life? Well, I'm going to be more careful, but I'm also going to share it as a way for my clients to be more careful. Okay, boom, you learn something. It goes back to Buckminster Fuller's quote, you can't learn less. Knowledge is an amazing thing. Once you learn knowledge, you can never unlearn knowledge. I mean, once it's there, it's there. You might have a hard time pulling it up. You might have it might not be as top of mind later on than it is today. But once you learn something, you learn something. And so, if you haven't, that's where, again, you start to combine things. Become unoffendable. Just learn. If you see somebody's face change when you say something, you should learn something from that. Now, if they smiled, say it more. And if they frowned, say it less. Okay. Shouldn't be that hard. So to get through fear of failure, as an example, the first thing you have to do is something.
That makes logical sense.
Do something. Take an action. The only way to get feedback is to take that action.
You don't have to like it, but you need it.
Yeah. Think of how many people are so petrified these days. You want me to do a live on Facebook? Yeah. Well, people won't show up. Possibly. People won't like it. Possibly. People will think I'm goofy. Possibly.
Probably.
Right? But the point is, even if, how negative are any of those things? You go and you do a live on Facebook, you get the experience for doing it. Nobody sees it anyway except for you. How did that hurt you? It didn't. It can only be another piece of experience. We're only as broad as the experiences we've had and the actions we've taken. There's
live a life of what you know.
Yeah, it's Greg Schaefer, this former FBI agent, in his talk. And I told him to make a slide out of this quote because it's a brilliant quote, and I'm actually going to use it in an event coming up. And that is, people don't rise to the level of their expectations. They fall to the level of their training.
Okay.
It's a great statement. So just because you have,
especially in the FBI.
Exactly. And so again, think about it. It's not about rising to your expectations. It's falling. If you haven't trained yourself up, if you don't know how to speak and you want to be a speaker, learn how to be a speaker. Learn it. There's plenty of people that can help. And if you want to learn how to build a funnel, learn it.
That was Game of Thrones fan. And we were watching the new episode yesterday, and Dragon Queen is asking the guy she's hooking up with to ride the dragons with her. And he looks at the dragon, he's like, I don't know how to ride a dragon. And she just looks, no one knows how to ride a dragon, because dragons didn't exist before she came. And she's like, no one knows how to ride a dragon until they ride a dragon.
That's the point.
You just got to do it.
Sometimes you just got to do it. My speaking mentor, one of the most profound things he ever said, if you want to be a good speaker, speak. Novel concept, right?
I know.
The only way that you're going to be able to understand how much it invigorates you and how much you like it and how much good you can do with it and all those kinds of things, the only way that that'll happen is if you go do it. Period.
That's it.
So step 1, do something. Step 2, be persistent. The chances of you doing it right the first time are negligible. You just got to do it. Step 3, it's not personal. That very rarely, even if somebody doesn't like who you are or what you do, it's not a personal thing. It's just a thing. Number 4, then change the approach. Do something different. Get more help. Read books. Listen to
podcasts,
YouTube lives, and all the different stuff. Step 5, don't beat yourself up. The world's hard enough on you. You don't have to beat the crap out of yourself. Stop it. Number 6, understand it's a learning experience. Learn from it. Number 7, expose something new. So
explain that one.
Well, it's kind of try something different.
Okay.
If you don't like, if the only thing you've ever had is a is a full-blown website, and it's people, you're not getting enough traffic. You're gonna create a landing page, just a one-page site, or a funnel, or do something different. If you haven't, as they say, times are a changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because some of my more mature friends, code word for old, they go, I don't like this Twitter thing and Facebook. And that's just, it doesn't matter whether you like it. You have to fish where the fish are. You have to, if you want to be known.
Can you imagine trying to catch a fish if you were fishing in a tree?
Well, that would be stupid. But yes, no, that's the point. But people, you throw it out and wow, these fish all have wings. This is crazy. But that's the point, is you don't necessarily have to love everything, but fish where the fish are. Novel concept. And the more heavily stocked and the smaller the pond, the better. That's niching from that side. And the last step of how you bust through fear of failure is fail forward fast. Take an action. You're going to be off course far more than you're on course. Move. Go make something happen. Get some input. Ask some people about it. Hey, what'd you think of that? Did you like it? What'd you like best? What could have been done better? If you want to really get through the fear of failure, is fail. Because what you'll find out is after you come out the other side of it, you're still breathing, you're still upright, you're still going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep on going. And then the third fear, and this is the one that people go, yeah, right, no, this doesn't exist. And that is the fear of success. And that's when you accomplish everything you desire, but you're still not happy. You're not content. You're not satisfied when you reach your goal. This is the people who make $1 gazillion, and it's like, now what? What do I do now? I own 22 cars. Now what? It's like nothing's ever enough. And where it comes from is a belief that you're undeserving of all these good things and of all the recognition that's come your way. You've made all these accomplishments and you've had all these great successes, and it's like, well, I got lucky. Nobody gets lucky into success. They work their butts off. And that's the part when the gurus stand up there and say, well, if you buy my program, you'll be a success in 12 minutes. BS. Bad strategy. Not true. Not
bad strategy. That wasn't quite the terminology I was coming up with, but sure, we'll go with that.
That's exactly it. So fear of success is really the fear of accomplishment and being recognized or honored. And a lot of people do not take compliments well, or they don't allow them to soak in. And there's a yin and a yang in everything. Well, if you're and this happens many times with givers, they're great at giving, but they suck at receiving. I'm not a great receiver. I need to be a better receiver. I mean, I love to help people. I love to give. I love to teach. I love to do all those things. But I need to be better at soaking it in when people say, hey, you know what? That was really valuable. Or that really helped a lot. Well, it's that same kind of thing. It's the kind of fear of the accomplishment of being recognized and all that. And part of that comes from, again, a lack of a belief in your own ability to sustain that progress, to keep the accomplishments going, to, it's kind of that, what have you done for me lately kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Boy, it was really awesome. You've done all this, but what now? Where is it now? what's going, and if you don't hold that belief that you can do it again and again and again and again, that's where the fear of success comes in. And it's also kind of that fear that your accomplishments can self-destruct at any time. It's, again, you don't take an action because you feel like if I do take the action, they're just going to blow up anyway. I had this conversation.
Would you say this one is the least popular? Do you think this one happens just as often, or maybe?
Well, it's probably the least talked about for sure.
Okay.
I don't know if it's least popular, but it's as an example. So we're about to go on, do this series of seminars, and there's a lot, there's talk back and forth of, well, did you commit to all of them? Did you commit to some of them? What are you going to do? And I said, my feeling is, here's what I know to be true. I know if we as a group don't have confidence that all the events will pull off somewhat like they're designed to pull off, they won't. If we don't think that they're going to work,
if you don't think it's going to work, why would anybody else?
That's exactly it, right? And so I said, I'm in for all of it, because here's what I do know. If I'm in for all of it and it works, man, we just keep on growing. And if 2, 3, 4 into it, it doesn't work, smart business people are going to say, okay, this just isn't working. We either need to redesign or we need to do something else. So some actions will be taken. That's my belief. Now, not everybody believes that. I think that the point is, if you don't have the belief that stuff is going to work, I can assure you it won't work.
Will if you believe if it will, or if you believe it won't, you're right.
Henry Ford said it in 1939, think you can, think you can't, you're right. So it really kind of comes from that kind of philosophy of doing that. And so no matter how much you're able to achieve, you just think you'll never be able to sustain that success. Well, what you need to do is understand that life changes, circumstances change, time changes, stuff gets invented, this happens, we used to spend $700,000 a week on infomercials to buy the time to drive people into a room. Nobody spends that kind of money anymore. Nobody does that kind of event anymore. Nobody, you're right.
700,000
a week. It was crazy.
Whew.
As we talk about fear of success even more, it's belief that there are others out there who are better than you, or that'll replace or displace you, or that you can't maintain your performance record. And one of the things that I always said to my sales forces is, hopefully you take everything I have and make it better and go out and work to kick my butt and become better than me.
Yep.
That all being said, I'm not going to stop learning. So start the chase and let's go. But you got to use that to inspire you to keep on learning and going forward. And it's belief that success in the end, you just got to be able to sustain your interest, your commitment, the whole thing. What I speak about has changed over time, but the fact that I do it speaking has not. Right? So the belief that the foundational skill sets that you're using to accomplish what you're using to accomplish will maintain relevancy and continue to grow. Topics, things like that, are where those changes will come in. And again, it may sound like I'm beating a drum here, but I am kind of beating a drum. It's kind of you work hard at it, and then you got to sustain it, and then you got to do it. And, I'm not going to find happy. I'm going to get tired of doing this. Well, we all get tired of doing parts of what we do all the time.
It's okay to change too.
Well, it's okay to change. It's okay to learn something. It's okay to insert something that's fresher. It's okay to do those kinds of things. So one of the things that I suggested, how do people get out of this feeling, is create a success page and look at however, if you're 30 years old, the first 10 years of your life, from 10 to 20, from 20 to 30. If you're older than that, just divide whatever age you are by 3 and list your successes in the first 30 of your life, the second 30 of your life, and the third 30 of your life. Understand, number one, most people will be amazed at how many successes they've had. I think when I shared this live at the Business Growth Network, I said one of my memories in the first third of my life was a Cub Scout softball game that we won 72-0. That was before the mercy rule, and we probably created the mercy rule, but we had no mercy. No, but I mean, it was just like, who could be part of a softball game that was 72-0? That's pretty freaking cool. Not for the losers, but for us, it was pretty cool, right?
Yeah, there's a reason for the mercy rule.
I know. Now it's like they would have gotten a trophy for getting beat that bad. Oh. I'm not being mean. They keep score for a reason. Anyway.
You're definitely an athlete. Like, the athlete in me is like, heck yeah. And then the mom in me is like, oh my gosh, can I not have a kid crying that bad?
Well, but again, that's part of you're not going to win everything in life, and you've got to learn how to lose too, because it's the losing.
I get it. I'm just saying.
Well, I know. Again, I didn't say it to be politically correct, So
yeah, like I said, I get both sides.
Number one, you'll recognize that you've had a whole lot more successes in life than you really dreamed. But then list successes to be achieved in the next 5 years. What will you accomplish? On the path I'm on, I will do this. Yes, I shall do this. All these different kinds of things. And really make this a journal exercise from that side. And again, some of the ways to get out of this is get out of victim language and get into accountability language. Victim language. I can't. I won't. All those kinds of things versus I can't.
I don't know how.
I don't know. Yeah, that's all victim language. I don't know how. I just learned how is accountable language. I will go out to learn how is accountability language. As they say, stuff happens, get over it, next, go from there. And so one of the formulas that I learned from Jack Canfield a long time ago really speaks to this as well. And that is growth equals awareness plus inspired action. By definition, you have to make the uncomfortable comfortable. You have to step out of the zone. You have to keep on going. You have to keep making things happen. We all share infinite talents. You're the world's best you. There is only one Jena. I am completely sure of that, right? And so growth equals awareness plus inspired action. Raise your awareness that there's a new and different or potentially better way of doing things. Take the inspired action towards that, and when you do that, you will grow. And really embrace the success that you've had and successes that you continue to have and contribute. I mean, go ahead and wrap your arms around it and say, you know what, I'm really proud of what I've accomplished. Not in an arrogant way. It's okay to be proud of what you accomplished, but embrace that success and then contribute and understand that because you're the world's best you, there's only one you. I've said it multiple times again in the live trainings. Why are you working so hard to fit in when you've been uniquely designed to stand out? Be you. Go be you. And the rest will kind of take care of itself.
It's like the perfect ending for 10:05.
You like that?
I do.
Awesome.
Just go be you.
Well, I mean, that really is it. Just, we work so hard to, in this day and age, seemingly, to be somebody else. And it's like, just be you. I mean, if you would just work on that, the rest will kind of take care of itself. So if I can help in any way, contact us at Double Funnel TV or reach
Look
out.
at you ending it, right?
Reach out at the BGN network or whatever. Whatever.
No, very awesome and very cool. And for those of you who want to go, we're going to be doing some additional training over in the Fembot Army for Warfare Marketing Facebook group next week and bringing in a couple of additional speakers.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone has a wonderfully happy Easter.
That's right. Happy Easter, everyone.
Weekend.
Be good.
Happy spring.
Happy
break,
spring.
but not break.
No break.
All right, bye.